And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. I got to find a better way to record this show. We're on a tight schedule today because the DSLR battery is about to die. And frankly, I'm not in a good mood, but you persevere. I don't know what's going on with my voice. I sound like a small child. I sound like I belong on the TV shows Stranger Things. I'm in the zeitgeist. I stopped watching after season 1, but I'm in the zeitgeist. Just throwing open some whatchamacallits going on here. How are you? How was your day? Good? Great. I'm glad to see you doing your things. Getting a lot of quarterly numbers coming in for advertising and all that stuff. Not advertising. For the big company. What is wrong with my voice? Whatever. I just came back. I literally just got out of traffic. Traffic's been horrible the past 2 days in Atlanta. Driving back from Buckhead towards the downtown area. In the hipster part. What was I talking about? Q3. The end of the quarter, the fiscal quarter is up, and we're getting earnings for all of the most important companies. Companies like Netflix, Amazon, Twitter. Twitter missed big. And I just saw a alert on Deadline that said that Amazon stock dives after big miss on Wall Street. It's important that these companies hit their numbers because that means that reiterates the investors' interest inside of for the company. So if a company like Netflix doesn't get, and Netflix is the topic of Netflix's Q3 failures are the topic of this week's news time. The news time that came out this week, very late, last night. In fact, at the time of this recording, it is Thursday, so it came out Wednesday. Netflix is, I really don't know what's wrong with my voice. It sounds extremely high and hoarse, like a sick child. But Netflix is, there we go. It's getting lower. Netflix's earnings, it missed subscriber numbers. It projected that I was going to gain, I think, 7 million new subscribers. It only gained 5 million. And that's not good. And all of these companies, all these big tech companies, with the exception of Amazon and Google, and Facebook, I believe, are losing a crap ton of money. Tesla. Hey, Google, stop. It's embarrassing. That's what happens when you have a Google Home Mini in every room, except for a hub. I have a Google Home Hub in my bedroom, the one without the camera. But wait till I get the Hub Max with the camera. Oh boy, Google's gonna see me naked every single day. But that's what happens when big tech companies, they're losing money. Netflix's, WeWork's, all that stuff. WeWork's about to get a new CEO, but the CEO they did mention this is interesting, nobody, but they did mention that there's at a meeting today, or yesterday, this week. I saw in the Wall Street Journal that it was rumored that there were going to be layoffs, and they're like, nah, there going to be layoffs. And then at this meeting with people that work at WeWork, corporate, they go, yeah, there's going to be layoffs, but we don't know when, and we don't know who or how many. How sad is that? I'm laughing, but how sad is that these big tech unicorns that get millions of billions of dollars from investors. And what happens is, if you don't hit your marks, if you have to make these projections because you are a big tech company, because you're putting out all this stuff. Netflix has to say, hey, we might have 100 million, unique users, but we also want to get everybody to sign up, everybody to have their own account. And I talk about password sharing in this week's News Time. News Time is the weekly daily show-esque news show. Anyway, but if Netflix doesn't hit. This is the second quarter in a row as well where Netflix didn't hit its numbers. Same thing for Twitter. Twitter, I think this is the third consecutive quarter where it's just not growing. And the ads, none of this stuff's working. They're not getting users, ads and all that crap, and they're just not making money. And so when that happens, investors have a chance to go, all right, well, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe it's not a good. Maybe we should not give you so much money because you don't know what you're doing, and that's what happens. So there you go. That's a 5-minute thing. I have my phone in here to do the time, and I just didn't do it this time. I had an interview today with a comedian. Comedian Matt Besser, one of the founders of UCB. If you were watching this show, then you most likely know who Matt Besser is. He, Ian Roberts, Matt Walsh, and Amy Poehler all helped create UCB, a haven for young improvers or old improvers, for improv teams to come together and do improv. Located out of New York, LA, second cities in Chicago, and Detroit. UCB is all over the place. Yeah, there you go. They use Del Close's teachings and spread the gospel. Anyway, I talked to him for a couple of 20 minutes. He has a new album out called Pot Humor, or it's coming out next week, so which means I have to get the interview out next week. I also have 3 other interviews ahead of him, so I got to get those out, tomorrow, which is Friday, or the day that this goes up, which is Friday, and then Monday through Thursday. I have a whole weekend of being alone, so. All right. Oh, God, I'm so sad and alone. And there's that. Oh, I'm supposed to. I don't want to talk about it. I was going to say I'm trying to set up an interview with somebody who's very big, but we'll see if this is the same person that also didn't respond to me for another interview for someone who's very big like 2 years ago, right before she popped. Oh, I almost did the white supremacy sign again. Okay. Let's get into this real quick story. It's from The Deadline, written by Dade Hayes. Amazon Prime viewing added to Nielsen, which reveals the boys' numbers. And if you recall, streaming shows aren't typically collected by Nielsen because streamers don't want people to know how many people are watching shows because they think, numbers would yield. Revealing numbers would yield. This is my theory. They think I believe that they think that yielding numbers would releasing numbers would yield lower viewers. You know what I'm saying? Like if the only time you hear about big Nielsen numbers are when, or something vaguely along those lines, are when Netflix says, "Hey, so a lot of people watched Stranger Things." And then you go, well, how much? And they go, 100 million people watched the premiere. And then you go, well, how many people watched the other episodes? And they go, a lot of people watched the other episodes, but the number goes lower. Nielsen numbers are the numbers like, 11 million people watched Big Bang Theory, stuff like that. So. But now Nielsen has a measurement. A couple of years ago, they created a measurement so that they'd be able to read the numbers that Netflix and Hulu and Amazon aren't releasing. I'm watching a bug fly around. Yesterday, I was shooting the cold open at news time, and I was like, this is like my second or third take, and I walked on screen. I was doing my whole thing, and I felt something crawling on my neck, and I thought, okay, it's, sometimes I feel things crawling on me that aren't there. I'm not crazy, I promise. I'm not crazy. And sometimes I feel things that are crawling on me that aren't there. And I felt something crawling right here, and it's going up the back of my neck. Watch the video on youtube.com/comedy if you want to see me touch my neck. And I go, and then if, like in a second's in, I go, I'm just gonna tap the back of my neck. I tap it, and then I pull my hand away. And then as I pull, I feel like a scratch, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And I pull my hand away, and there's a bug on my finger, and it's it's not that big, but it's a bug, and I can feel the shell and everything. And I go, "What the heck is that?" And I'm holding it up to the camera, and you'll see it on the blooper reel that you don't watch, that no one watches. In making the announcement of the Amazon edition, Nielsen also said the audience for The Boys, which is the comic book show that's very gory. I saw half of the premiere. Well, never mind. I don't want to get into it because I wasn't watching on my account. It was somebody else's account, someone whom I love. During the first 10 days of its availability was 4.1 million, with an average of 6 million watching its premiere episode. The 8-episode first season racked up 8 million total viewers from July 26th to August 4th. It's the first 10 days on the platform, with 39% of the audience between 35 and 49. Ooh, Jesus. Wow, that's a pretty big number. The older crowd really liked it. Measuring TV viewing has never been an exact science, and Nielsen has come under increasing scrutiny as the competition for audiences has grown more intense. The dominant ratings company introduced streaming metrics in 2016, along with other improvements to traditional linear and on-demand viewing. Separately, Netflix has begun to offer more regular voluntary reports of select viewership numbers after refusing to reveal any statistics for several years. Nielsen is right for doing this, for pulling out, because if you're, I mean, this is kind of a service to not only your audience, but also to those other big companies like CBS, Viacom, like HBO, like Comedy Central, like all these other channels that you're competing with. They want to know how you are doing, and just because a lot of people talk about a show doesn't necessarily mean that people are watching it. I talk about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend all the time. And, I mean, no one watched it. 900,000 viewers per episode. It was in the bottom 50 shows watched on broadcast. It was one of, if not the least watched shows on broadcast. So there you go. Amazon is, but I want to get back to that 39% of the audience to 35 and 49. That is a big, I think that sounds like a big margin. You're really aiming for the 18 to 45 demo, but having an older group that's almost half of the represents your viewership. That's really interesting, especially for a comic book show that is competing with the likes of, when it came out, Preacher and the DC stuff. The DC stuff, this Arrowverse kind of skews younger because it's all these sexy people complaining about being sexy and stuff. And then there's also, with the exception of Black Lightning, which is just a show about black people who happen to have superpowers. And then the Marvel shows, they don't exist anymore, but when they did, it's slightly more gritty, but not much more. And then we have Marvel's Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, which I started watching. Cloak and Dagger, not half bad. It takes a very long time to start though. But then we have those shows that are skewing towards the Arrowverse sexy teens are mad at each other thing. So with The Boys being as Vice Investigates series sets Hulu run. Wow, that's good. Go on Hulu. You don't need appearing monthly, with episodes appearing monthly. Great. Breaking news. But that just goes to show that there's a whole market out there for superhero things that aren't this Marvel DC expanding universe thing. Look at Joker. Look at Joker. That's a DC Black Label movie, in quotes. I put that in quotes because I think that's what Todd, the director, what's his face, he said he wanted to do a line of DC Black Labels, which is just like darker, grittier, low cost, low budget movies with DC characters. They aren't necessarily superheroes, but just whatever. So interesting to see. But yeah, The Boys, like Preacher. Look at Preacher. Preacher was such a good show. Ended before it could really tell a whole comic book story, but it did get an ending. So there's that. He found God in a hopeless place. That just ruined the entire show. Who cares? No one watched it. If you're gonna watch Preacher, you should have watched it by now. I like from what I saw of The Boys, I liked it. Okay, let's take a break, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Jesus. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Constance Podcast. Jesus, this is just a freaking cacophony of things. I started the second part of this show, and then I lean on, for the first time in 132 episodes, I pull the headphones out of the microphone. Essentially, if you plug anything in or out of the microphone while it's recording or while Audition is open, Audition's like, hey, you changed the hardware, even if you plug in headphones, because it just registers headphones in a different way. And long story short, I had to restart this show twice or once. Stupid show. Let's look at this. Vice Investigates going to Hulu. Vice Media, which has been reshuffling its TV partnership plans after its long-term relationship with HBO wound down several months ago, set a premiere date on Hulu of Vice Investigates. I guess I just can't call it Vice anymore. The Hulu original show, from the producers and correspondents of Vice News, will set the first 3 episode go. We'll see the first 3 episode go live on a streaming service on November 1st. Remaining installments in the 10-episode series will appear monthly. In the tradition of the original Vice on HBO, the new series will span the world. Blah blah blah. So is Vice on HBO, but on Hulu? I wonder if so HBO is probably going to keep the Vice back catalog, the first 5 seasons that they did, which the last 2-3 seasons have been 20 episodes, and then one season was 40 episodes, which is like HBO gave you money to do that, and then they canceled this pact. You know what? Maybe this is just a hunch, and I know Vice has been losing money hand over foot, and they've not been able to retain not only viewership but also reader numbers. But perhaps it's that Disney invested money into Vice, and they've not been able to recoup any of those losses. After, I think it was like a $4 billion valuation of Vice. I think Vice is now worth like way less than, I know it was in the billion, but I know it's worth way, way less than what Disney thought it. I think it's like $400 million now, which is not, because Disney, whatever. Anyway, look up the numbers. I'm not gonna look it up. This is not the type of show. But HBO's owned by Warner Media, which is owned by AT&T, which is putting out its own streaming service to compete with Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu and Amazon. So maybe they just want to, not have to deal with all that stuff. I don't know. Vice is great. I think Vice is good. The TV shows. They do talk about marijuana a lot, but they talk about drugs and prostitution a lot. But I think Vice is good. It's something that is needed. Okay. This is such a stupid show. And then they also, Hulu also has The Weekly from New York Times, which only comes out, I would say, on a monthly basis too. So there you go. Add that to the pile of things to talk about. Next up, this comes from Vulture. Matt Zoller cites Disney is quietly placing classic Fox movies into its vault, and that's worrying. You may recall, and if you're a '90s babe, you may recall that Disney has a vault, and periodically they'll take a movie and put it in the vault, or take a movie, take it out of the vault, release a special edition of it. Lion King's been in the vault. Sleeping Beauty. You may remember the commercials. All the movies that they have, just to. Jeez. Oh, I'm getting a spam call. Well, now we can see Google call screening in action. It's from a 715 number. I don't owe any money to anybody, so we'll see what happens. Well, I do owe money for college, but so this is a Google call screen. If you've never seen Google, they hung up. They hung up. Any Hoosers. What was I talking about? The vault. So they did a Lion King, Sleeping Beauty, and now they're going to do it with Fox movies. That's not good because Disney's essentially doing what they're raising the value of movies, of their movies, only their movies, so that you won't be able to get them. If you wanted to buy Cinderella, because I remember seeing like all the different movies, like even Fox and Hound. But if you want to see something like Cinderella or Fox and Hound in 2002, and you didn't own the VHS, and you wanted to buy the VHS, and it just wouldn't be out, you just wouldn't have it. You have to pay. Right now you probably still have to pay $100 for a Cinderella VHS or a Cinderella DVD because it's probably not even on Blu-ray, or it is, and it costs too much. Same thing with the Lion King. Lion King Diamond Edition costs. Who cares? Let's see what's going on. I wish I read this. Let's see. For this year's horror marathon, some guy wanted to screen, I didn't want to say this guy's name, wanted to screen the original 1976 version of The Omen and the 1986 remake of The Fly, two of hundreds of older 20th Century Fox features that became the property of Walt Disney Corporation after the purchase, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Jesus. In the preceding few months, Neff, the guy, had heard rumblings in his Google group of film programmers that Disney was about to start treating older Fox titles as they do older Disney titles, making them mostly unavailable to for-profit theaters. Oof. When Neff's requests to screen The Fly and The Omen were denied via the Drexel, which handles the logistics of booking a programmer's requested titles, he realized the rumors were true and that he had to stop screening Fox films altogether. Oh my gosh. Wow. And that's sad. That's really sad. Movies all across the world, or all across the United States, like at drive-ins and stuff, they're being taken off the screens. You can't screen old Fox films like Aliens, Say Anything, The Princess Bride, Moulin Rouge. Oh, Fight Club. Oh my gosh. So I own the Fight Club Special Edition on Blu-ray. So if I didn't have that, then, or if you wanted, if there was if it was Fight Club's anniversary, you wouldn't be able to watch it. Miracle on 34th Street, All About Eve, The Sound of Music, Deadpool, The Revenant, The Simpsons movie. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. They could do that. They could do those. But oh my gosh. That's crazy. Disney officially denied to comment for this piece, but a film distributor with firsthand knowledge of the company's policy says it is directed at theaters that screen first-run Disney and Fox content alongside older titles. Oh, so it's like art theaters. There's an art theater right near me, and so if you want to come murder me, then go ahead. I got nothing to live for. That's incredibly disappointing. I never even thought of that with this acquisition. People lose jobs, and you're not going to be able to screen movies that because there's movie screenings all the time of old films. If you live in in certain cities, like in Atlanta, here at this art house movie theater, there's one in Buckhead that does that as well. And then, regular AMCs, they do it all the time for, I'm sure on the anniversary of Apollo 13 blowing up. Is that the one? Or Apollo 11? Look, I don't know my history. It's 532. That's incredibly disappointing. I don't want to see that. Fox classics are going to the vault as well for reasons the company won't publicly explain or justify. And Disney valuification of Fox titles is bad news for movie theaters that depend on repertory screenings to shore up their increasingly shaky bottom lines. The decision to broaden Disney's artificial scarcity tactic to include thousands of movies released by a one-time rival is a wounding blow to a swath of theatrical venues that used to be able to show them and where film buffs were able to see them with an audience. That seems like the thesis about halfway through. I thought of Jesus, crap in a bucket. This is a whole essay. I thought about. They also own The Descendants and 12 Years a Slave now. The Shape of Water. Wow, those are all Fox films. I was thinking about this yesterday. We used to, when you're in college and high school, they teach you to put the thesis, the whole reason why the essay is being written, like in the first paragraph. But quickly you'll learn. Not quickly, but if you go to school for writing, or if you have a half decent teacher, you learn that you can put the thesis pretty much anywhere in the first half. I mean, truly, you can put a thesis anywhere and then restate it continually, throughout the piece. But I find it, all these, every, Vulture, The Atlantic, Washington Post, Breitbart, name of a place that I really don't read and I shouldn't be reading, that no one should be reading. That's super racist. But all these people, on the internet now, they write all these think pieces, Jezebel, Gizmodo, Kotaku, IGN, all these places, and AV Club. And then, I read some of them, like The Atlantic and all that stuff. And you realize that a lot of people, I'm not going to say aren't good writers, but a lot of people either A, continue to write like that high school thing, which, there's people my age that do it, people older than me that still do that, or B, they have found their own voice, but I'm not going to say informal, because you can be, there's plenty of people writing informally and it's still fine. And it's, or it's really good, or it's horrible. But it's kind of like, God, I don't want to say bad and I don't want to say informal, but it's kind of like as if the writing stinks. I'm not trying to be mean, but the writing stinks. I'm not saying I'm the be all end all. I'm not saying I'm the best writer, but the writing is just not there. And there's a very long post from The Atlantic that I think about constantly, and it's called My Family's Slave, and it came out I think about 4 years ago, and it was about a family that took in a poor Asian woman, and she basically was a slave to them. And this is like in modern century times, and it's very long and very meaty, and it's a very good piece of writing. And then, cut to 3 or 4 years later, and I urge you to go to read it. It's a really good piece. Then, cut to a few years later, same website, someone is writing an opinion piece that is, I like this. This is good. This is why this show good. This is why the politics are bad. And it's, everybody has their own style. And that, I guess that's why I stopped writing think pieces or essays. I called them essays. Now they're called think pieces. But I think that's just why I stopped writing those, because it was just, everybody's doing it and it just became less special. So there's that. Disney's putting movies in the vault. And then last thing I want to talk about is the Niro and Pacino. There's a New York Times profile on them. If you click on the links that I put inside the show notes or on the website, it is, they're usually just links. It says like vulture.com / /2019 / 10 / Disney -is -quietly, the rest of the thing. But this one, for the New York Times profile of De Niro and Pacino, starring in The Irishman, coming on Netflix in a month. This one, at the very end of the URL, it says $2 farts. What? That's insane. Why does it say that? I'm not going to talk too much about this, but go read it. It's a very good profile. I read it not even an hour before I started driving home from work. As you see, I wasn't going to talk about anything today because I'm truly not in the mood, because my mood from last week is carrying over. I was going to talk about the comics I read. I found the website where I can read. Ooh, I'm just about to implicate myself. I read some comics legally. I read The Button. These are both DC comics. The Button and Rebirth. Rebirth. No. Yeah, Rebirth. It was The Button and Rebirth. So I read Rebirth, which is DC was doing. Let me finish this real quick. Go read it. It's let's see who wrote this. It talks about them starring together. Dave Itzkoff did a really good job. This is what your one article preview. What? Go read it. I thoroughly enjoyed the profile he did for both of these gentlemen on New York Times. But anyway, so Rebirth is DC Comics restarting. It's basically what it did was there's a comic event. They do comic events all the time. They do crossovers with everybody. Superman's hanging out with Batman and Wonder Woman. They call themselves the Trinity. It's really weird to see them say those words out loud. Well, I wish they would do it in the movies. And it's the Teen Titans are hanging out with Static Shock or whatever. Anyway, they did a couple of years ago. DC rebooted themselves, and comic books, Marvel and DC do this all the time, and I hate when people just don't know that. Battery's about to die. But DC rebooted. They rebooted it the first time with the New 52. The New 52 was just 52 weeks. For 52 weeks straight, they're gonna have every series that they redo is gonna have a new comic. 52 weeks straight. And eventually DC got tired of that, and I think a year and a change, and or they this is the initial thing. So then they did New 52, and then New 52 was basically an amalgamation of the Silver Age and Golden Age of the DC Comics and the Superman but just rebooted. But then they restarted again with Rebirth, which is bringing together all of the multiverses inside of the DC universe. So we have Earth 1, Earth 2, all these different, noirs and all the different universes and stuff. Bring them all together into one world. And then, so that was Rebirth. And it's all because of the Flash, baby. The Flash is the best superhero in the world. That's my favorite superhero. And then Green Lantern. And maybe Wolverine. So, Static Shock. So anyway, that's what that is. And then I read The Button, which is a continuation of Rebirth. So everybody's trying to figure out. The Flash is the only person who, I think it's Wally West Flash, who can remember everything, and no one else can. And then so it's up to Batman and Barry Allen Flash to figure out what's going on. All the worlds are disappearing and they're coming together. So that's what that is. Anyway, whatever. I read that. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head on over to the website, cplscomedy.com, where there's some interviews. Like I just said, I got... let me just name the people who I've interviewed. I've interviewed Emma Willman. I've interviewed Matt Koff. I've interviewed Gino Seegers. Matt Koff is a writer on The Daily Show who's releasing an album. Gino Seegers is on Perfect Harmony on NBC, and Matt Besser, who is releasing an album. Matt Besser this is not a knock to anybody else I spoke to in the past, year. Matt Besser was a delight. Everybody's been a delight. Matt Besser he was great. To talk to somebody that big in the comedy world, and then to hold on, I'm typing something. I was typing in the notes. To talk to somebody that big in the comedy world, it was just I'm so honored, and I can't wait to talk to hopefully the next person. I've been working on for about 2 months, because I was notified 2 months ago, and it's been in the back of my mind. I can't wait till November to talk to this person. So definitely head to the website, cplscomedy.com, see those interviews. If you want to see a video version of this show, go to youtube.com/cplscomedy. See the whole, me and all of my flannel wearing glory. I've been wearing a flannel the whole time. You didn't even know, baby. Nice black and gray flannel. Is this blue? It's like light blue to me. Oh my gosh, it might be light blue. I thought this was gray. It's gray. I thought it's navy. It's navy, light blue, and gray. Whatever. Wearing this flannel I rarely wear. It's not even ironed. Wore it to work today. All unbuttoned with the shirt under it. I look so cool. No big deal. So you want to see that. And then there's also the weekly news show, News Time. Very entertaining. I do my best. I truly do my best. It's my favorite show to do. I love it so much. Hopefully, these new shows that I'm thinking about are coming out at some point. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.